Hello dear friends, welcome to another lecture of strength of materials. Now in the past few lectures we saw how to calculate, how to solve complex stresses, how to calculate principal stresses, how to calculate stresses on inclined plane, how to draw Mohr circle of stress. Now today we are going to see complex strain. So whatever concepts we learned in case of stresses, we are going to repeat the same concepts in case of strain. We are going to see how to calculate strain on oblique planes. We are going to see how to calculate principal strains. We are going to see how to draw Mohr circle for strain. So all the things that you saw in case of stresses, you have to see the same concepts in case of strain. And there's a very important topic that we are going to learn today, and that is strain rosette, my friend, which is a very important topic from practical point of view also. Strain rosette is an instrument which we use to measure the values of strains and then convert them into stresses. So we are going to see the concept behind strain rosette and we are going to solve some problems related to that. Now if you are watching this video for the first time, let me introduce myself. My name is Aprup Rao, MTech from IIT Kharagpur. Specialization was mechanical systems design. Then I worked for 2 years in Mahindra Research Valley, which is the R&D center of Mahindra and Mahindra, where the cars and tractors of Mahindra are designed. So I worked there for 2 years as deputy manager, and then I quit my job and I started teaching. So I've been teaching for more than 6 years now. I've taught thousands of students preparing for GATE and engineering services. And I teach subjects related to design, strength of material, engineering mechanics, machine design, and theory of machines, my friend. And here I have been teaching you strength of materials from the very basic. We have started strength of material from zero concept, okay? And in a few lectures, the entire syllabus of strength of material is going to be completed. So if you have not watched my previous lectures, after this lecture ends, go to the playlist of strength of material and watch all my lectures one by one, my friend. Okay. Now, my friend, what I need you to do is hit the like button right now, because if you are attending my class, then it works like an attendance, my friend. It is a kind of a virtual attendance. So raise your hand and hit the like button. That will give your attendance to me, and share the link of this video to as many students as you can. Remember, sharing is caring, my friend. Sharing knowledge is a very noble cause, and this is free of cost knowledge. We are not charging anything. So all we need you to do is to support us by sharing these videos with all your contacts, my friend, on Facebook, on Instagram, on WhatsApp, on Telegram, wherever you are active. Just post the link of these videos and share it with all your friends, so that they also get an opportunity to watch these videos completely free of cost, my friend. You don't know who of them will get benefited from these video lectures. Okay, we have been posting live online lectures of all the subjects of mechanical engineering on our YouTube channel. So if you have not subscribed to our channel, my friend, please go and subscribe the channel right now. It's called Unacademy Gate ME, which is the official YouTube channel of Unacademy, and it is completely free of cost. You will get all the live online lectures from zero to very end. The entire concept, the entire syllabus will be covered, my friend. So please go and subscribe this channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you will be notified whenever we are online. And we have one more offering for you, my friend. In the description of this video, there is a link of our Telegram channel. So go and follow that channel, because we are going to post all the relevant study material on that Telegram channel. Okay, you will get PDF of all the lectures that we take online. So go and follow that channel in order to get the relevant study material, my friend. Okay, now my friend, last time I gave you a problem related to combined loading. In the last lecture we saw combined loading means different types of loading acting on the body. This problem was the last problem. I told you to solve this problem by yourself. So if you have solved, very good. If you have not solved, if you are not able to solve, no problem. We are going to discuss the solution of this problem right now, my friend. Okay, so this is a problem related to combined loading. There is an axial load, there is a transverse load, and there is a torsional moment. So there will be 4 stresses, my friend. 4 stresses. At any point there will be 4 stresses, my friend. What stresses? Due to axial load, there will be axial stress, load upon area. Due to torque, there will be twisting moment, there will be torsional stress, T tau equals to TR by J. Due to this transverse force, there will be two stresses, direct shear stress and bending stress. And in the last lecture, I explained in a very detailed manner why we don't consider the direct shear stress. This is a transverse force. So there will be a shear force, there will be a bending moment, there will be a direct shear stress, there will be a bending stress. But we don't consider the direct shear stress. Why? Because we calculate the stresses at either the top or the bottom, and direct shear stress at top and bottom are zero, my friend. So that's why we don't consider the direct shear stress. We only consider the bending stress. Due to this force, there will be two stresses, direct shear and bending. We will not consider direct shear because we consider stresses at either the top or the bottom of the cross section where the direct shear is zero, my friend. So we will only calculate three stresses, axial, bending and torsional. Out of these three, axial stress and bending stress both are in x direction, so both are directly added together. Now my friend, we have to calculate the stresses at the end because the bending moment will be maximum at the end. But there are 2 points at the end. There is a point A and there is a point B. So where we will calculate the stress, at A or at B? Because the value of stresses will be different at A and different at B. So exactly where we will calculate the stress? See, due to the axial load, there will be tensile stress at both the points A and B. But due to the bending moment, the beam will bend like this. Due to the bending moment, the beam will bend like this. So at the top, there will be tensile stress, and at the bottom, there will be compressive stress. So at point A, axial stress is tensile, bending stress is also tensile. So both will be added. But at point B, axial stress is tensile, but bending stress is compressive. So both will be subtracted, my friend. At point A, there will be axial stress, there will be bending stress, both tensile. So both will be added. But at point B, axial stress will be tensile, but bending stress will be compressive. So both will be subtracted. So where will you get maximum stress, my friend? At point A. So we are going to calculate all the stresses at point A. What is our final objective? To calculate the principal stress. And to calculate the principal stress, what do we need? We need the stress component, sigma x, sigma y, tau xy. So let's first calculate the stress components. Okay. So at point A, what will be sigma x, my friend? What will be sigma x? In x direction, there are two normal stresses. Due to 300 kilonewton, there will be axial stress, which will be tensile, and due to this bending moment, there will be bending stress, which will also be tensile. So both will be added. At point B, it will become sigma A minus sigma B, axial stress minus bending stress. Okay. So what will be the axial stress, my friend? 300 kilonewton divided by area. What will be the area? Diameter is 80 mm. So pi by 4, 80 square. What will be the bending stress, my friend? Bending stress in circular cross section, maximum bending stress is what? 32 m by pi d cube. So it will be 32. What will be the bending moment? What will be m? Load into this distance. What is the load? 5 kilonewton. And what is the distance, my friend? 1 meter means 1000 mm divided by pi d cube. So pi into, what is the diameter, my friend? 80. So what is sigma x value, my friends? What is sigma x value? What are you getting in sigma x? Tell me, what are you getting in sigma x? Sigma x must be 159.16 megapascal. Are you getting this? 159.16 megapascal. It is my calculation. Sometimes it might be wrong because I have calculated it only once. So be prepared to solve this question on your own. Okay. So calculate sigma x, 159.16 megapascal. So is it the value you are getting? All right, my friend. Now, what will be the value of shear stress? It will be tau xy, 16 T by pi d cube. So 16 into, what is the torque? 7 kilonewton meter. So 7 into 10 to the power 6 Newton mm divided by pi d cube. Pi into 80 cube. So what are you getting? Tau xy. What is the value of tau xy, my friend? Tau xy is how much? 69.63 megapascal. 69.63 megapascal. Sigma y will be 0. There is no normal stress in y direction. So we have sigma x, we have tau xy. Can we calculate the principal stresses? We have the direct formula of principal stresses. This is a biaxial stress condition. So we will apply the direct formula. What will be the equation? Sigma x plus sigma y by 2. Sigma y is what? 0. So it will become sigma x by 2 plus minus root over sigma x by 2 whole square plus tau xy square, or it is tau xz exactly. Sorry, it is tau xz. We have seen it is tau xz. Okay, sorry for my notation. It should be tau xz. At point A or point B, it will be tau xz. At the side points, it will be tau xy. Okay, I have explained this in my last lecture. It should be tau xz. So it will be tau xz square. So in this formula, just put the values and you will get the principal stresses. So what will be the values of principal stresses, my friend? Solve this and you will get principal stresses. Sigma 1 will be 185.32 megapascal and sigma 2 will be equal to minus 26.16 megapascal. These are the values of principal stresses that you might be getting, my friend. Okay, so this is the solution of the problem. Understand this solution of the problem. At point A, axial stress and bending stress both are added. If you consider the same thing at point B, it will become sigma A minus sigma B, because the bending stress will be negative. So it will be sigma A minus sigma B. So the values of principal stresses will be less. Okay, here we have to calculate maximum principal stress. So these are the values of principal stresses at point A, sigma 1 and sigma 2. You can calculate sigma maximum, you can calculate tau maximum using these principal stresses. Okay, so this is the solution, my friend. Okay, so if you have understood this, hit the like button right now. If you have not liked this video till now, please go and hit the like button and share the link of this video, my friend. Share the link of these videos with all your friends. Please share this link of the video with all your friends on Facebook, WhatsApp. Call them online. Whenever you are online, call your friends, tell them to be online and watch this amazing lecture. Okay, if they don't like it, they will go, but at least they should have an opportunity to watch this video, my friend. At least they should know that such kind of videos are going on, my friend. Okay, so tell them to be online every day. The new schedule for strength of material is 7:30 to 9. Okay, and in a few lectures, in 2-3 more lectures, strength of material will be ended and we will start the new subject, my friend, machine design. Okay, we will start machine design after strength of material, my friend. Okay, so tell them about it also. Okay, all right, so this was the last problem. Now we will start with the new topic today, and today's topic is complex strain, my friend. Today's topic is complex strain. So let's start with the new topic, complex strain. Now complex strain and complex stresses have very similar concept, my friend. Complex strain, complex stress, both have very similar concept. I told you in general state of stress and in general state of strain that there are 9 stress components and 9 strain components, right? There are 9 stress components and 9 strain components. Okay, so if this is x-axis, this is y-axis, this is z-axis, then we draw a cube in order to denote all the stresses and all the strains. Okay, in case of stresses, what do we get? Sigma x, sigma y, sigma z, tau xy, tau xz, tau yz. In case of strain, I told you a very simple way. I told you a very simple way to remember complex strain. If you remember equations of stress, then you can convert them into strain. You just replace sigma with epsilon and tau with gamma by 2. All you need to do is this. Okay, replace sigma with epsilon and tau with gamma by 2 and you will get the equations of complex strain, my friend. So what will be the strain components, my friend? Epsilon x, this will be gamma xy by 2, gamma xz by 2, then epsilon y, gamma yx by 2, gamma yz by 2, then epsilon z, gamma zx by 2, and gamma zy by 2. Okay, so these are the 9 strain components, but this is a triaxial state of strain, my friend, and I told you that we don't consider triaxial stress or triaxial strain. We will consider biaxial stress, we will consider biaxial strain. Okay, biaxial strain, or you can call it plane strain. Biaxial, or you can call it plane strain condition. So in case of biaxial or plane strain condition, what happens, my friend? All the strain in z direction becomes 0. Epsilon z is 0, gamma zx and xz is 0, and gamma zy and yz is 0. So everything in z direction becomes 0. So what do we get, my friend? We get a rectangular element instead of cube. Now we only need rectangle. We have covered all this in general state of strain. We have covered everything in general state of stress and general state of strain, but I am repeating it again. Okay, so this will be plane strain condition. Epsilon x, epsilon y, and gamma xy by 2. Remember, instead of gamma we have to write gamma xy by 2. Gamma yx by 2 is also equal. Okay, so these are the plane strain condition, right? This is the plane strain condition. Okay, just like plane stress condition. In case of plane stress condition, we get 3 components: sigma x, sigma y, tau xy. Here we are getting 3 strain components: epsilon x, epsilon y, gamma xy by 2, my friend. Okay, so do you understand this? Do you understand this? This is triaxial strain, but this is not in our syllabus. We have to consider biaxial or plane strain condition. So do you understand this? Very good, my friend. Very good. Very good. Now, my friend, what do we need to calculate? Whatever we have calculated in case of stress, we will calculate all those things in case of strain. So remember what we calculated first in case of complex stress. Remember, do you remember that lecture? Do you remember the lecture of general state of complex stress? Do you remember the first lecture of complex stress? What did we calculate first? What did we calculate first, my friend? We calculated strain on inclined plane, stress on inclined plane, sorry. So here we will calculate the strain on inclined plane, my friend. Okay, so let's say we have this strain condition, plane strain condition. Okay, and we need to calculate strain on this plane at an angle theta. We need to calculate the normal and shear strain at an angle theta. So strain on inclined plane. What will be the equation, my friend? What will be the equation of epsilon? Epsilon on this inclined plane. Epsilon means normal strain. So normal strain on this inclined plane. What will be the equation, my friend? Remember the equation of stress? We can convert that equation of stress into equation of strain. What we need to do? Just replace sigma with epsilon and tau with gamma by 2. So do you remember the equation of sigma at inclined plane theta? Do you remember that? So you can convert that equation in strain also. So what will be the equation? Epsilon x plus epsilon y by 2 plus epsilon x minus epsilon y by 2 cos 2 theta plus gamma xy by 2 sin 2 theta. Remember this, you have to replace tau with gamma by 2. Okay, so this is the equation of epsilon, my friend. Now what will be the equation of gamma by 2? Not gamma. You have to replace tau with gamma by 2. So what we will get? Gamma by 2 equals to minus of epsilon x minus epsilon y by 2 sin 2 theta plus gamma xy by 2 cos 2 theta. So this is the equation of gamma by 2. This is the equation of epsilon and this is the equation of gamma by 2. Gamma is the shear strain, my friend. So this will be gamma by 2. So gamma by 2 will be equal to this much, my friend. Okay. So note this equation down, my friend. Note this equation, and it is very easy to remember. If you remember the equation of sigma and tau, you can convert them into epsilon and gamma by this. Sigma will become epsilon, tau will become gamma by 2. So note this equation, my friend, and remember this. Remember this. All you need to do is replace sigma with epsilon and tau with gamma by 2. Okay. Now, my friend, what was the next thing? What was the next thing? The next thing I told you was draw Mohr circle, right? Next thing that I explained was how to draw Mohr circle. So we have seen Mohr circle of stress. Now we will see Mohr circle of strain, my friend. Okay. So how we can draw Mohr circle of strain, my friend? We will use the same concept, my friend. We will use the same concept. This will be epsilon. This will be gamma by 2. I told you two methods to draw Mohr circle of stress. First, you can draw the circle with center and radius. What was the equation of center? What was the equation of center? Sigma x plus sigma y by 2 and 0. So here what will be the center, my friend? Epsilon x plus epsilon y by 2 and 0. What was the equation of radius, my friend? What was the equation of radius? Root over sigma x minus sigma y by 2 whole square plus tau square. So here it will become root over epsilon x minus epsilon y by 2 whole square plus gamma xy by 2 whole square. Okay. So you can draw the circle using this. So where you will get the circle? The center will be somewhere here, and using the radius you will draw the Mohr circle of strain. Okay. So this will be the Mohr circle of strain. Or there was another method. There was another method I explained you. This is vertical plane. This is horizontal plane, right? This is vertical plane. This YZ plane is vertical plane, and this XZ plane is horizontal plane. So what you need to do, my friend? I told you, find the coordinates of vertical and horizontal plane and draw them here. Okay. Find the coordinates of vertical and horizontal plane and draw them here. So where will you get the coordinates? See, what will be the vertical coordinate, my friend? What will be the vertical coordinate? Epsilon x gamma xy by 2. What will be horizontal coordinate? Epsilon y and minus gamma xy by 2. If it is plus gamma here, it will be minus gamma here. Okay. So these are the coordinates, my friend. Okay. And let's say epsilon x is greater than epsilon y. Let's assume epsilon x is greater than epsilon y. So where will you get the vertical coordinate? It will be somewhere here. Okay. Vertical point will be somewhere here, and horizontal point will be somewhere here. Epsilon x and plus gamma by 2, epsilon y and minus gamma y by 2. Okay. And if you join vertical and horizontal points, what you will get? Diameter of the circle, and then you can draw the circle. So this is Mohr circle of strain, my friend. This is Mohr circle of strain. Similar to Mohr circle of stress. Entire concept is similar. Only instead of sigma you are writing epsilon, instead of tau you are writing gamma by 2. So remember this, note this down and remember this. Every concept is same, my friend. Every concept is same in case of strain. Just replace sigma with epsilon and tau with gamma by 2. Okay, so note this down. Note this down, my friend. So this is Mohr circle of strain, my friend. This is Mohr circle of strain, my friend. Now, what we need to do? What was the next thing? We calculated, my friend. We calculated angles of principal plane. Do you remember? We calculated angles of principal plane. What are principal plane, my friend? In case of stresses, principal planes are the planes where tau is 0, right? In case of stresses, principal plane are the plane where tau is 0. In case of strain, what will be principal plane, my friend? In case of strain, what will be principal plane? In case of strain, principal plane will be the plane where gamma is 0. Principal plane will be the plane where gamma is 0, my friend. Similar to stresses, in case of stress, principal plane is plane where tau is 0. Here, principal plane will be the plane where gamma will be 0. So this will be the first principal plane. This will be the second principal plane. Now, my friend, Here I need you to understand this. Here I need you to understand this concept. Very important concept. Okay, you need to note this down. See, I told you that if there is sigma, there will be epsilon. If there is tau, there will be gamma, right? If there is sigma, there will be epsilon. If there is tau, there will be gamma. This is for isotropic material, okay? Without sigma, there will be no epsilon. Without tau, there will be no gamma, okay? Sigma will not be related to gamma and tau will not be related to epsilon. Sigma is related to epsilon, tau is related to gamma. Do you understand this? Normal stress, normal strain. Shear stress, shear strain, okay? If tau is 0, then gamma will also be 0, right? If tau is 0, gamma will also be 0 because sigma will not produce gamma. Sigma will only produce epsilon. So if tau is 0, gamma will also be 0. Do you understand this? Means if at a plane tau is 0, gamma will also be 0. So the principal plane of stress is the principal plane of strain also. The plane where tau is 0, gamma will also be 0 because gamma and tau are related to each other. Gamma is not related to sigma. So if tau is 0, gamma will also be 0, my friend. So principal plane of stress, note this down, principal plane of stress and strain are same, okay? Principal plane of stress, this is the principal plane of stress and this is also the principal plane of strain. At this plane, tau is also 0, gamma is also 0. Let's say this is the principal plane number 1 and this is the principal plane number 2. I told you both these principal planes will be at 90 degree, okay? So this is the principal plane of stress and principal plane of strain also. Here tau will also be 0, gamma will also be 0, okay? So you can find the angle of this principal plane using stresses. You can also find the same angle using strain. In case of stress, I told you the formula. What will be the formula in case of strain? What will be the formula of angle theta P1 in case of strain, my friend? What will be theta P1 here? Half of tan inverse of, instead of 2 tau xy, what I will write? Gamma xy. Instead of 2 tau xy, I will write gamma xy divided by epsilon x minus epsilon y. So this is the angle of principal plane in terms of strain. In terms of stress, we have already seen the equation. This is the equation in case of strain. And what will be theta P2, my friend? What will be theta P2? I told you, if you have theta P1, all you need to do is add 90 degree because the angle between both the plane is 90 degree. Here it is 180 degree. Here you can see it is 180 degree, but every angle theta becomes 2 theta here. So if the angle is 180 here, what will be the angle here? 90 degree. So theta P2 will be theta P1 plus 90 degree. We have seen this concept in case of stress, principal plane of stress. This is the same concept in case of strain, principal plane of strain. What are principal plane? Plane where gamma is 0 and principal plane of stress and principal plane of strain are same because if tau is 0, gamma will also be 0. So these are the angles of principal plane. So this is the thing that we saw in complex stress. Here also we are seeing the same thing, complex strain. Next, what we calculated? A very important thing we calculated in case of stress. After this, what? Principal stress. So here we will calculate principal strain. Here we will calculate principal strain. So what will be the principal strain, my friend? What is the definition of principal stress? What was the definition of principal stress, my friend? It is normal stress on principal plane. Normal stress on principal plane. So what will be the principal strain? Same thing. It will be the normal strain on principal plane. Epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. On principal plane, gamma will be 0. But there will be value of epsilon. So this epsilon is known as principal strain, my friend. And what will be the equation, my friend? What will be the equation? Same equation as you got in case of stress. You can convert it into strain. What will be the equation, my friend? Epsilon x plus epsilon y by 2 plus minus root over epsilon x minus epsilon y by 2 whole square plus gamma xy by 2 whole square. This was the equation of principal stress. We converted it into principal strain. If you use plus, you will get epsilon 1. If you use minus, you will get epsilon 2. So these are the two principal strains. What will be the third principal strain, my friend? 0. Why? Because it is biaxial strain. It is biaxial strain. So the third principal strain will be 0, my friend. Okay, so note this down. These are the equations of principal strain, my friend. We have seen the equation of principal stress. This is the equation of principal strain, my friend. Okay, so do you understand this? Do you understand this? Now, what was the significance of principal stress? I told you the significances of principal stress. Sigma 1 and sigma 2 are sigma maximum and sigma minimum. So here also epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 will be epsilon maximum and epsilon minimum. One of them will be epsilon maximum, one of them will be epsilon minimum, my friend. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? Very good, very good. Now, my friend, we calculated sigma maximum and tau maximum, right? We calculated sigma maximum and tau maximum using sigma 1 and sigma 2. So the same thing we will do here also. We will do the same thing here also. What we will calculate? What will be epsilon maximum, my friend? Maximum of epsilon 1, epsilon 2 and epsilon 3. This will be epsilon maximum. Whenever you need to calculate maximum normal strain, epsilon maximum, what you will do? You will calculate the principal strain and then maximum of principal strain will be epsilon maximum. Now, what will be gamma maximum, my friend? What will be gamma maximum? We discussed this. Gamma maximum will be, tau maximum was what? Tau maximum was maximum of sigma 1 minus 2 by 2, 2 minus 3 by 2, 3 minus 1 by 2. Here gamma maximum will be maximum of epsilon 1 minus 2 by 2. Sorry, it will not be 2 because by 2 here and by 2 here will be cancelled. Tau max will be replaced by gamma by 2. So by 2 here and here both will be cancelled. So it will be epsilon 1 minus 2, 2 minus 3, 3 minus 1. Do you understand this? This is what? Gamma maximum, maximum normal strain. Okay. So we have seen the concept of sigma max and tau max. Here this is the concept of epsilon max and gamma max, maximum normal strain and maximum shear strain. Note this down, my friend. Note this down. Note this down. All right, my friend. So all the concept that we have seen in case of complex stress is same in case of complex strain also. Mohr circle of strain, the strain on inclined plane, principal strain, epsilon maximum, gamma maximum, every concept is similar, my friend. Okay, so we don't need to remember extra formula. Okay, you don't need to remember extra equation. You have equations of stresses. Convert those equations of stresses into equations of strain. What you need to do? Replace sigma with epsilon and tau with gamma by 2. So you can convert the equation of stress into equation of strain, my friend. Okay. So do you understand this concept? Do you understand this concept? Very good. Hit the like button. Like button ठोको, my friend. अगर ये concept समझ में आ रहे हैं, if you are understanding what I am saying, if you are understanding my points, hit the like button right now and don't forget to share the link of this video with all your friends, my friend. Okay, you can support me in this way. Okay, if you see how much effort I am putting in these videos, you can support me in this way. Please share these videos with all your friends. Okay, and don't forget to hit the like button. Okay, All right, my friend. Now, a very important thing, relation between principal stresses and principal strain. Relation between principal stresses and principal strains. Okay. So what will be the relation between principal stresses and principal strain? Let's say there are three principal stresses, sigma 1, 2, 3, and there are three principal strains, sigma epsilon 1, 2, 3. So what will be the relation, my friend? Look at this. Epsilon 1 will be equal to, you have seen this, this is Hooke's law. This is Hooke's law. Epsilon 1 will be equal to sigma 1 by E minus mu sigma 2 by E minus mu sigma 3 by E. Okay. Epsilon 2, you can similarly write it sigma 2 by E minus mu sigma 1 by E minus mu sigma 3 by E. This is Hooke's law. This is nothing but Hooke's law. Okay. We have already seen this Hooke's law. Epsilon 3 will be sigma 3 by E minus mu sigma 1 by E minus mu sigma 2 by E. So these are the relations between principal stresses and principal strain. Okay, do you understand this? Note this down. Note this down right now. Okay, this is derived from Hooke's law. Okay, this is from Hooke's law. I have explained this. In case of triaxial load, the relation between stress and strain. I have explained this in Hooke's law. Okay, so this relation is from Hooke's law. Okay, now my friend, we only deal with principal biaxial stress, right? We only deal with biaxial stress. So in case of biaxial stress, what will happen? Sigma 3 will be 0. Okay, for biaxial stress, sigma 3 will be 0, right? For biaxial stress, sigma 3 will be 0. So what equation you will get? Epsilon 1 will be equal to sigma 1 by E minus mu sigma 2 by E, and epsilon 2 will be sigma 2 by E minus mu sigma 1 by E. We don't need the third equation. Okay, I am not writing the third equation because we don't need it. Okay, we only need these two equations. Okay, now my friend, what happens practically? What happens? We cannot measure the values of stresses, but we can measure the values of strains. So practically, we can find epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 by measurement. Okay, so if you know the value of epsilon 1 and 2, you can find sigma 1 and 2. Okay, practically what happens, I am telling you. Practically, let's say I give you a body and I ask you to calculate principal stress. So what you do, you cannot measure the value of stress. So what you do is, by using instrument, you measure the values of strain. So you will get epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, and now your objective will be to find sigma 1 and 2. So by solving these two equations, we can find sigma 1 and 2. What will be sigma 1? If you solve these two equations, what will be sigma 1, my friend? Look at this. If you solve these two equations, you will get sigma 1 equals to E into epsilon 1 plus mu epsilon 2 upon 1 minus mu square. This will be the equation of sigma 1. If you solve these two equations, you will get sigma 1 equals to this, and sigma 2 will be E into epsilon 2 plus mu epsilon 1 upon 1 minus mu square. Okay, note these equations down. You can use these equations to calculate sigma 1 and sigma 2 if you know epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. Okay, we will solve problems based on this equation. Okay, so note these equations down. Very important equation between epsilon 1 2 and sigma 1 2. So if you know sigma 1 2, you can calculate, if you know epsilon 1 2, you can find sigma 1 2 using these equations. But this is only for biaxial stress, where sigma 3 is 0, my friend. Do you understand this? In our syllabus, we always consider biaxial stress. Okay, all right, my friend. All right, so we have seen equations of complex strain. Okay, now my friend, I will not solve simple problems where epsilon x, epsilon y, gamma xy is given and you have to calculate angle, you have to calculate principal strain. Those are very simple problem. You can do that. Okay, you can do that. You just have to put the values in the formula. Okay, let's solve some different types of problem. Okay, we will solve some different types of problems based on complex strain. Okay, so we will only see those type of question. We will not see direct formula based question. Okay, you can solve those questions on your own. You can solve those questions on your own. You don't need my help in solving those problems. Okay, now my friend, let's solve some different types of problem. Okay, so this is your first question. This is your first question. Note this down and I want you to try to solve this question. A circle of 400 mm diameter. A circle of 400 mm diameter is scribed on a steel plate. A circle of 400 mm diameter is scribed on a steel plate subjected to stresses as shown in figure. Subjected to stresses as shown in figure. Okay, so the figure of stress is given. After deformation, circle becomes ellipse. Okay, after deformation, circle becomes ellipse. Find the length of major and minor axis of the ellipse. Find the length of major and minor axis of ellipse. E is 205 gigapascal and mu is 0.286. Okay, and this is the diagram. Note this diagram. Note this problem and note this diagram. Okay, note this problem and note this diagram. You need to try to solve this problem. Okay, so this is the problem. This is 100 megapascal. This is 20 megapascal. Okay, and the shear stress is given like this. This is 30 megapascal. Okay, so this is the problem. So do you understand the problem, my friend? We have a steel plate. Okay, we have a steel plate. This is the steel plate. It is subjected to sigma x, sigma y and tau xy. We have drawn a circle on the plate. Okay, we have drawn a circle of diameter 400 mm on the plate. When this plate will get deformed, the circle will become ellipse, and you have to find the major axis of the ellipse and the minor length of major axis and minor axis of the ellipse. Okay, so note this problem down. Note this problem down and try to solve this problem. Okay, we have to understand the problem first and then we will try the solution. Okay, so note this problem down and then I will explain the theory behind this problem. Then I will explain what you have to do, exactly what is happening in this question. Okay, so note this problem. A circle of 400 mm diameter is scribed on a steel plate subjected to stresses as shown. After deformation, circle becomes ellipse. Find the major length of major axis and minor axis. E is given 205 gigapascal and mu is given 0.286. So have you noted this? Have you noted this? Have you noted this down? All right, very good. If you have noted this, very good. Now my friend, what I need you to do is, first you understand what is happening. See, due to these stresses, what is going to happen to the body? This body is going to deform. Okay, now understand how the body is going to deform. If there is no shear stress, what will happen, my friend? The body will deform like this. Okay, this length will increase, this length will decrease. It will happen like this. Okay, but it will not angularly deform. Why? Because there is no shear stress. Okay, there is no shear stress, so the shape will not change. But if you apply shear stress, then what is going to happen? If you apply shear stress, then the shape of this body is going to change. How the shape is going to change? Understand that. I told you the sign convention of tau, and I also told you the sign convention of gamma. What is the sign convention of gamma? When you apply shear stress, what happens to the body? The body gets deformed. So there are two types of deformation. One is this: if you are applying positive shear, then the body is going to deform like this. Okay, what is happening, my friend? See, this angle of 90 degree is decreasing. The angle between this plane and this plane, horizontal and vertical, it is decreasing. So this is positive shear, positive tau as well as positive gamma. Okay, this is positive tau and positive gamma. If angle is decreasing, what is the sign convention of tau? On vertical plane, if this is positive, then tau is positive. On positive plane, if it is going in positive direction, tau is positive. That is sign convention of tau. What is sign convention of gamma? If this angle is reducing, if this 90 degree angle is reducing, then gamma is positive. So this is positive tau and positive gamma. Now what will be negative tau and negative gamma? Understand this. Right now we have negative tau. On this positive plane, tau is going in negative direction. So this is negative tau and there will be negative gamma. Okay, this is negative tau. Okay, so in case of negative tau, what will happen? It is going to deform like this. Okay, it is going to deform like this. Okay, look at this angle, my friend. This angle is increasing. Okay, so this is negative tau and negative gamma. So what is the sign convention of gamma? If the angle is decreasing, the angle between horizontal and vertical, if this angle is decreasing, positive tau. If this angle is increasing, negative tau. So do you understand this? How it is going to deform? Now after deformation, what will happen, my friend? This circle will become a ellipse. It will become like this. Do you understand? It is going to become like this. Okay. Now, my friend, this will be the major axis. Okay. And this will be the minor axis. What you need to do? You need to calculate this length and you need to calculate this length. You know the initial length. Initial length is 400 mm, right? Initial length is 400 mm. Initial length means initial this is 400 mm. After deformation, you need to calculate this, right? Now, this length is increasing and decreasing, and increase or decrease in size is measured in terms of epsilon, right? This is epsilon maximum. This major epsilon is what? This is epsilon maximum and this is epsilon minimum. This is maximum change in length and this is minimum change in length. So epsilon maximum and epsilon minimum. Okay, so this is epsilon maximum and epsilon minimum. And what is epsilon maximum and minimum, my friend? One is epsilon 1, other one is epsilon 2. So in order to calculate major axis and minor axis, what you need to calculate? Epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, maximum and minimum normal strain. And using maximum and minimum normal strain, we will calculate length of major axis and minor axis of the ellipse. Do you understand this? Every dimension is changing. Initially, every dimension is 400 mm. Every dimension at any angle, the dimension of this circle is 400 mm. After deformation, all the dimensions are changing. There is maximum dimension and there is minimum dimension, right? So what will be this dimension? In order to calculate this dimension, you need epsilon maximum, and in order to calculate this dimension, you need epsilon minimum. Means you need to find epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. Do you understand this formula? Do you understand this concept? So in this problem, first what we will have to calculate? Epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. But we don't have epsilon x, epsilon y and gamma xy, right? We don't have epsilon x, we don't have epsilon y, we don't have gamma xy. But we have sigma x, sigma y and gamma xy. So we cannot calculate epsilon 1 2 directly. What we have to do? First we have to calculate sigma 1 and 2. First we have to find sigma 1 and 2, and then we will convert it into epsilon 1 and 2. Okay. So first find sigma 1 and 2. So what will be the equation of sigma 1 and 2? Sigma x plus sigma y by 2. So it will be 20 plus 100 by 2. Sorry, 100 plus 20 by 2. Same thing, but let's not confuse ourselves. Plus minus root over sigma x minus sigma y by 2 whole square plus tau xy square. Now my friend, this tau is negative, but it doesn't matter because the tau ultimately will become positive. So it will be minus 30 whole square. Okay, it is a negative tau, so minus 30, but it will ultimately become positive. So what you will get, my friend? Sigma 1, what you will get? Can tell me what will be sigma 1 and 2? In order to find epsilon 1 and 2, first we need sigma 1 and 2. Okay, so tell me what is sigma 1 and sigma 2. Calculate the values of sigma 1 and sigma 2, my friend. Okay, tell me what will be the values of sigma 1 and sigma 2. Calculate the values and tell me what will be sigma 1 and sigma 2, my friend. So sigma 1 is 110 megapascal and sigma 2 is 10 megapascal. These are the values of sigma 1 and 2. Now my friend, I can convert sigma 1 and 2 into epsilon 1 and 2. What is the equation, my friend? What is the equation? What is the equation of epsilon 1? Using Hooke's law, sigma 1 by E minus mu sigma 2 by E, right? You have the value of E and mu. What was E? I gave you the value 210 gigapascal. And what was mu? E was 205 gigapascal. And mu was 0.286. So just put the values in this equation. Just put the values of sigma 1 and 2 and E and mu in this equation and you will get epsilon 1. So what is epsilon 1, my friend? Put the value and calculate epsilon 1. Put the value of mu E sigma 1 sigma 2. Okay, and calculate what will be epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. Tell me what will be epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. So epsilon 1 is how much? 5.226 into 10 to the power minus 4. There will be no unit. Okay, epsilon are unitless. Okay, and what will be epsilon 2, my friend? Sigma 2 by E minus mu sigma 1 by E. So what will be epsilon 2, my friend? Tell me what will be the value of epsilon 2. Calculate it and tell me the value of epsilon 2 quickly. You have the value of sigma 1 and 2. Tell me the value of epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, my friend. Quickly. What are you getting? What are you getting? Epsilon 2 is equal to how much? Minus 1.097 into 10 to the power minus 4. This is epsilon 2. So we have epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 and we have to calculate major axis and minor axis. Now my friend, understand this. Understand this. This is epsilon. What is epsilon, my friend? Delta L by L, right? Or in this case, we have diameter, so we can write it delta D by D. So this is delta D1 divided by D, initial diameter, and this is delta D2 divided by D, right? Delta D1 and delta D2. This is change in maximum diameter. This is maximum change in diameter. This is minimum change in diameter. Okay. So this is delta D1 and this is delta D1 by D, delta D2 by D. What do we need? Length of major axis, means we need final length. Okay. So final length of major axis, length of major axis, what it will be? What it will be? D1 will be equal to D plus delta D1. Initial length plus change in length. Final length will be equal to what? Initial length plus change in length, right? Final diameter means initial diameter plus change in diameter. So put the value, my friend. What was the initial diameter? 400. What will be delta D1? D into this much, right? D into this much. So D is 400 into 5.226 into 10 to the power minus 4. So from here you will get my length of major axis. So what is length of major axis, my friend? D1 will be 400.209 mm. 400.209 mm. So this is length of major axis. This is change in diameter by initial diameter. Delta D1 by D. So delta D1 will be D into this much. But we don't need to calculate change. We need to calculate final diameter. So it will be initial diameter plus change in diameter. Similarly, my friend, length of minor axis will be how much? Length of minor axis. So how much will it be? Let's say it is D2. So it will be D plus delta D2, right? Now my friend, D is 400 and delta D2 will be equal to what? Minus D into this much, right? This is negative. So minus D into this value. So 400 into 1.097 into 10 to the power minus 4. So you will get the length of minor axis. One diameter is increasing, it becomes major axis. One diameter is decreasing, it becomes minor axis. So what is the length of minor axis? 399.958. This is length of minor axis. Okay, so major axis, minor axis. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? Very good if you understand this, my friend. A very important type of problem, my friend. Okay, I told you I am not going to solve direct formula based problem. I am going to solve a little different conceptual type of problem. So this is one of those problems. Do you understand this, my friend? Very good if you understand this. Now my friend, we will solve another problem. Very important problem. This next problem is a very important problem, my friend. You need to understand this next problem that I am going to tell you. A very, very important problem. A very important problem, my friend. A very important problem. This next problem is a very important problem, and I am telling you, my friend, the concept of this problem. The concept of this problem that I am going to tell you, maximum people make mistake in this concept. Maximum people. So this question is from GATE 2017. This question is from GATE 2017. Okay. This question is from GATE 2017. First I am going to write the question. Okay. And then we will understand the question. Okay. So a rectangular region. You also write this question. And it is a very important question, my friend. I am telling you, 90% people make mistake in the solution. Even, my friend, maximum books, maximum websites, maximum institutes have given wrong solution of this problem, my friend. I can guarantee you, maximum people have made error in the solution of this problem. So let's solve this problem using the correct method. So a rectangular region in a solid is in state of plane strain. Okay, xy coordinates of the corner of rectangle, xy coordinates of corners of rectangle are given. By P00, Q40, R43, S03. So these are the coordinates of the corners of rectangle. In the last problem we had a circle, and in this problem we have a rectangle. The coordinates of the corners are given. Okay, the rectangle is subjected to the rectangle is subjected to uniform strain epsilon xx equals to 0.001, epsilon yy equals to 0.002, and gamma xy equals to 0.003. Okay, so we have epsilon x, epsilon y, and gamma xy. Find the deformed length. Find the deformed length of elongated diagonal. Find the deformed length of elongated diagonal. Okay. So note this question down and then we will understand this question, my friend, and I am telling you why this question is important, why I am considering this question, not because this question is very difficult. No, it's an easy problem, but the problem with the solution is that most of the people make mistake, a very basic mistake in the solution. Okay, and I'm telling you, even very big institutes which have all India name, which have a very big name all over India, they also have made mistake in the solution of this problem. Okay, I'm not taking pride, I'm not saying this proudly, but I am telling you that most of the people make mistake in this problem. So you have to understand, okay, you have to understand what mistake they are making, and you don't make the same mistake. Okay, you don't make the same mistake. That's why I'm considering this. Okay, and you will see the maximum books, maximum websites, they have given the wrong solution. Okay, we will see the right solution. So this is the problem. Note, have you noted it down? Now my friend, I will tell you what is the meaning of this problem, what they are saying exactly, Okay, so what they are saying is, we have a rectangle. Okay, the coordinates of corners are given. So this is what P00. Okay, this is what Q40. This is R43 and this is S03. So these are the coordinates of corners. Okay, epsilon xx, epsilon yy, and gamma xy is given. Okay, epsilon x, epsilon y, and gamma xy is given. So what is epsilon x? 0.01, epsilon y epsilon x is 0.001, 0.001, epsilon y 0.002, gamma xy 0.003, and they are asking you to calculate the elongated length of diagonal, final length of elongated diagonal. Okay, so understand this problem, my friend. Okay, so we have this epsilon x, okay, epsilon y, and gamma xy. Gamma xy, my friend, is positive. Okay, gamma xy is positive, so it is acting like this. Okay, this will be gamma xy by 2. Okay, now my friend, what they are trying to solve, what they are asking you to solve, elongated length. Okay, now understand this, after deformation, what will happen? After deformation it will become something like this. Right now it is like this. Okay, right now it is like this. After deformation it will become something like this. So you can see that one diagonal it is compressed and one diagonal is elongated, right? After deformation, what is happening? One diagonal is compressed, one diagonal is elongated. They are asking you to calculate the length of this diagonal, not the length of this diagonal, which is elongated. Okay, you need to calculate the length of this diagonal, my friend, this diagonal, elongated diagonal. Now how do I know it is compressed, it is deformed like this? Why not like this? Look at this gamma, my friend. It is positive gamma. In the question they have given positive gamma. Positive gamma means this. Okay, if they give negative gamma, then it will be deformed like this, Okay, then it will be deformed like this. Okay, so this will be the elongated diagonal and this will be the compressed diagonal. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? It is a very important point, my friend. Otherwise your angles will be wrong. So you have to understand whether it will deform like this or it will deform like this. Otherwise your angles will be wrong. So first of all, you need to understand which one will be the deformed diagonal, this diagonal or this diagonal. So do you understand which one will be the deformed diagonal? This diagonal, my friend. Okay. So this is the diagonal that is going to elongate and this is the diagonal that is going to compress. Okay. So we need to find the final length of this PR. Okay, my friend. Now, my friend, in order to calculate the deformed length, we need to calculate first the change in length, right? Change in length means we need to first calculate epsilon, right? Do you understand this? In order to calculate the deformed length, final length, we need change in length, and in order to calculate change in length, we need epsilon. Epsilon is change in length divided by original length. So we need to find epsilon. Now understand this, and this is very important. You need to calculate epsilon, okay, for this PR. You need to calculate epsilon for this PR, okay. You need to calculate what? Epsilon PR. You need to calculate epsilon PR, okay. What will be the angle, my friend? What will be the angle theta? Tell me what will be the angle theta. First of all, let's calculate this. What will be this length, my friend? This is 0, 0, this is 4, 0. So this length is 4. And what will be this height, my friend? What will be this height? This height will be 3. Okay, look at the coordinate. X coordinate is 4, Y coordinate is 3. So this length is 4, this height is 3. Okay. So what will be this angle, my friend? And what will be this angle? You can calculate it. Tan inverse of 4 by 3. Tan inverse of 4 by 3. Tan inverse of 4 by 3. 53.13. So this angle is 53.13. This angle is 53.13 and this angle will be 36.87. Okay. Now, my friend, a very important thing that I need you to understand. A very important thing that I need you to understand is what will be the angle. So first thing, we measure the angle from vertical, right? Whenever we calculate epsilon at any plane, we put the angle theta from vertical plane. So what will be the angle? Maximum people, 99% people will say theta will be 53.13 degree. Even maximum books and maximum websites solve this problem using this theta. Theta equals to 53.13. Why? Because they say that we need to calculate epsilon of PR. Okay, and we measure angle from vertical. So theta will be 53.13. But this is wrong, my friend. This is wrong. Theta will not be 53.13. Theta will not be 53.13. Theta will be 36.87 degree. Theta will be 36.87 degree. And it is a very, very controversial concept. It is a very important concept. Maximum people make mistake in this concept. I am telling you, guarantee, maximum people make mistake in this concept. Okay. Now I will tell you what is the right concept. What will be the angle? I will tell you. First of all, you need to understand how the angle is measured. Okay. Let's say, okay, in order to explain that, let me give you this example. Let's say we have a body. Right now it is only subjected to epsilon x and epsilon y. Forget about gamma. Right now it is subjected to epsilon x, epsilon y. Understand this. What will be the angle? What will be theta? Very important topic, okay? Because we will use the same concept in future also. So this is a very important topic and I am telling you, my friend, after this lecture ends, Google the same problem. It is of GATE 2017. Google the same problem and you will see all of the people have made mistake in the solution. Okay, they use theta equals to 53.13, which is wrong. So I will tell you what will be the right angle. So let's say this is L and this is H. This is length and this is height. Okay. Now, my friend, after deformation, let's say it becomes like this. Okay, let's say length is increasing, height is decreasing. Okay, let's assume. Let's say I am asking you to calculate delta L. I am asking you to calculate delta L. Okay, So in order to calculate delta L, what will be theta, my friend? What will be theta? In order to calculate delta L, what will be theta? What will be theta for delta L? See, this is the length, okay, and we measure angle from vertical. We measure angle from vertical. This is vertical plane, this is vertical plane, and we need to calculate delta L. So what will be theta, my friend? You will say theta will be 90 degree. You will say theta will be 90 degree because we need delta L and we measure angle from vertical. So delta L, theta will be 90 degree. Wrong, my friend. Theta will be 0 degree. If you want delta H, then theta will be 90 degree. Understand this. Why it is happening. Why theta will be 0 if you want delta L and theta will be 90 if you want delta H. Okay. If you are thinking that from vertical length is at 90 degrees, so theta should be 90, wrong. So let me explain the concept here. See, you want what? Delta L. What will be delta L? Epsilon x will be delta L by L. Okay. So in order to calculate delta L, what do you need, my friend? Epsilon x. You need epsilon x. Basically, you need epsilon x in order to find delta L. Now, my friend, epsilon x is acting on which plane? Epsilon x is acting on which plane? Epsilon x is acting on the vertical plane. Do you understand this? Epsilon x is acting on vertical plane. Epsilon x is acting on vertical plane. Now, a very important point, I want you to note it down. Very important point. Write this sentence. We don't measure the angle of epsilon. We measure the angle of plane at which epsilon is acting. We measure the angle of plane at which epsilon is acting. If I ask you to calculate epsilon x, you will not see the angle of epsilon x. What you will see? You will see the angle of plane at which epsilon x is acting. Okay. So we don't measure the angle of strain. We measure the angle of plane. Okay. Whenever we see theta, it is of a plane from vertical. Theta is what? It is the angle of any plane with vertical plane. It is not the angle of epsilon with vertical plane. Theta is not angle between vertical plane and epsilon. Theta is the angle between any plane and vertical plane. So what will be the angle for epsilon x? Don't look at epsilon x. Look at the plane where epsilon x is acting. If I ask you to calculate epsilon x and if you want to put theta, so you will not look at the direction of epsilon x. What you will see? You will see the plane at which epsilon x is acting. So epsilon x is acting on which plane? Vertical plane, right? Epsilon x is acting on which plane? Vertical plane, and angle of vertical plane from vertical plane will be 0. So for epsilon x, theta will be 0. Epsilon x, theta will not be 90. Okay, don't look at this. Don't look at this angle. Don't look at the angle between vertical and epsilon x. Don't look at the angle between vertical and epsilon x. Theta is not the angle between vertical and epsilon. Theta is the angle between one plane and vertical plane. Theta is the angle between one plane and vertical plane. So for epsilon x, what will be theta? Epsilon x is acting on vertical plane, and for vertical plane, theta will be 0. Now what will be theta for epsilon y? What will be theta for epsilon y? Don't look at the angle of epsilon y from vertical. Look at the angle of plane at which epsilon y is acting. So epsilon y is acting on which plane? This plane. Epsilon y is acting on this plane. What is the angle of this plane with vertical plane? 90 degree. So theta will be 90 degree for epsilon y. Do you understand this concept? Very important concept. I guarantee you, nobody will tell you this concept. Maximum people, out of 199 people, make mistake in this concept. Whenever I will ask them what is the angle of epsilon x, they will say 90 degree, because epsilon x is acting like this, vertical plane is this, so epsilon x will be theta equals to 90 degree. No, you don't see the angle between epsilon and vertical. You see the angle between one plane and vertical plane. So epsilon is acting on which plane? Vertical plane. Epsilon x is acting on vertical plane. For vertical plane, theta will be 0. Epsilon y is acting on which plane? Horizontal plane. So for horizontal plane, theta will be 90 degree. So don't look at the direction of epsilon, look at the plane at which epsilon is acting. Okay. So now, if I ask you what will be the angle for PR, what will be angle? We need to calculate epsilon PR, right? We need to calculate change in length of PR. So we need epsilon PR. What will be the angle for epsilon PR? Now again, don't measure the angle of epsilon with vertical. Measure the angle of plane at which epsilon PR is acting. So epsilon PR is acting at which plane? Epsilon PR is acting at which plane? Epsilon PR is acting on this plane, my friend. Epsilon PR is acting on this plane. Epsilon PR is acting on this plane. Epsilon PR is what? Normal strain. Epsilon PR is normal strain. It is normal to this plane. Do you understand this? So we will not measure the angle of this with vertical. We will measure the angle of this plane with vertical. This angle. And what will be this angle, my friend? What will be this angle? This angle will be 36.87 degree. Okay. Note this down, my friend. Very important concept. This angle will be 36.87. So for epsilon PR, theta will be 36.87. It is measured in anti-clockwise direction, so it is positive. Clockwise theta is negative, anti-clockwise theta is positive, so plus 36.87. okay, so don't look at the angle of epsilon with vertical. Okay, don't look at the angle. If I ask you what will be the angle for this epsilon, don't look at the angle of this epsilon with vertical. Look at the plane at which epsilon is acting. So this epsilon is acting on which plane? This plane. This epsilon is acting on vertical plane, this plane. So this plane and this plane, what is the angle? 0 degree. Okay. If I ask you what is the angle for this epsilon, don't look at the angle of this epsilon and vertical. Look at the angle of plane at which this epsilon is acting. So this epsilon is acting on this plane. This epsilon is acting on this plane. Now what will be the angle? 90 degree. So theta will be 90 degree. Okay. So if I ask you what is the angle for this epsilon, don't look at the angle between vertical and epsilon. Look at the angle between plane at which epsilon is acting. So plane at which epsilon is acting is this plane. Epsilon PR is acting on this plane, and for this plane theta will be 36.87. Do you understand this concept? Hit the like button, my friend, because I guarantee you, if you look at the solution, any book, they will give the wrong answer. They will give theta equals to 53.13, which is wrong, my friend. Google this question. If you don't believe me, Google this question. This is a question of GATE 2017. Google this question and you will see all solution, almost every solution is wrong. Almost every solution is wrong. So don't make this mistake, my friend. This is a very important concept. We are going to use this concept in the next topic also. Next topic is Strain-Rosset. And in that concept also, we'll use the same problem. We will use the same theory. Okay. Now, my friend, theta is 36.87. So what will be the equation of epsilon PR? What is the equation? Epsilon x plus epsilon y by 2 plus epsilon x minus epsilon y by 2 cos 2 theta plus gamma xy by 2 sin 2 theta. Okay, we need the length, change in length of PR. So we need epsilon PR. Epsilon acting at some angle. Okay, so what is the angle? 36.87. So put the angle, you will get epsilon PR. So what will be epsilon PR? Put the value of this angle. Okay, you have epsilon x, you have epsilon y, you have gamma xy, and you also have theta, 36.87. So put the value, what you will get? Epsilon PR will be this much, my friend. 0.00424. Okay, epsilon PR will be this much, which will be equal to delta PR by PR. Change in length divided by original length, right? Delta PR by PR, change in length divided by original length. Now what will be final length of PR? What will be final length of PR? Final length means initial length plus change in length, right? Final length means initial length plus change in length. So what is the initial length? 5 plus What will be the change in length? What will be the change in length? This is epsilon. This is not change. This is epsilon. Delta PR by PR. So what will be PR? This will be this. PR plus delta PR. Okay, so what was PR? 5. What will be delta PR? This into PR. So this is 0.00424 into PR. Okay, PR plus delta PR. Delta PR will be this into PR. This into PR. So what will be the final length of PR, my friend? 5.014. Okay, the unit is not given. Unit is not given. It is meter, centimeter, mm. We don't know that. So this will be the final length, 5.014. In most of the books, you will see this answer, 5.0154, which is the wrong answer. You will get this answer by putting theta equals to 53.13. If you put theta equals to 53.13, which most of the people make, which most of the people do, they directly put the angle of epsilon PR, which is wrong. You don't measure the angle of epsilon with vertical. What you measure? You measure the angle of the plane with vertical, the plane at which epsilon PR is acting. So epsilon PR is acting on this plane, and for this plane theta will be 36.87. Okay, so if you put theta equals to 53.13, you will get this answer, 5.0154. You note this and you watch, Google this question, and you will see almost every 90% solutions are wrong. They give this answer, which is wrong, my friend. The actual answer will be 5.01514. Okay, 5.014. So do you understand this concept? It is a very important concept which I want you to understand, because this problem was in GATE, and in the next concept, in the next topic also you will use the same concept. So this is a very important concept. Okay, how to measure the angle, how to take theta. Do you understand this? Very good, my friend. Hit the like button. I want you to appreciate all this effort. Hit the like button and share this video with all your friends. Remember, sharing is caring. I have repeatedly telling you, sharing is a noble cause. Sharing knowledge is a noble cause. So participate in this noble cause. Share this video with all your friends, my friend. Thank you very much if you have already shared. Now, my friend, let's move on to the next topic. The next topic is strain-rosette. Next topic is strain-rosette. Now, what is strain-rosette, my friend? Let's understand that. Let's understand what is strain-rosette. Okay. So, in order to understand strain-rosette, first you need to understand strain gauge. Okay. What is strain gauge? Let's understand that. Okay. First of all, you cannot measure the value of stress. Stress cannot be measured. Okay, there are no instrument, apart from some rare cases, stress cannot be measured. There are no instrument to measure stress in many cases, but we can measure strain. We can measure strain, and in order to measure strain, what instrument do we use? We use strain gauge, we use strain-rosette. So strain gauge and strain-rosette are basically what? Strain measuring instrument. They are instruments which are used to measure strain. Okay, they are the instruments which are used to measure strain. Okay, so they are nothing but instruments used to measure strain. Now, what is strain gauge? Let's see briefly. I will tell you briefly what is strain gauge. So, strain gauge is a very small instrument, very small, like this. Okay, it is only this much. Okay, this size. Okay, what is strain gauge, my friend? This is a piece of paper and this is metal wire. Okay, I am explaining this concept in very simple words. Okay, so don't go in the exact word. This is paper and this is metal wire, kind of paper and metal wire. Now, my friend, what happens? Strain gauge can measure epsilon in any direction. This strain gauge can tell you epsilon in any direction. Okay, what is epsilon? Delta L by L. Okay, so basically you can measure delta L using this strain gauge. Okay, let's say you want to find strain in this body. Okay, let's say you want to find strain in this body in X direction. So what you will do? You will glue this strain gauge in X direction. Okay, you will glue this strain gauge in X direction. Okay, you'll glue this strain gauge in X direction on this body. Okay, let's say you have a very small strain gauge. Okay, let's say this is the strain gauge. Okay, this is the size of strain gauge. This is the size of strain gauge. So you will put the strain gauge like this, glue the strain gauge on this body like this. Okay, and when you will apply the load on the body, what is going to happen? When you will apply the load on the body, length of the body is going to change, and if the length of the body is going to change, the length of this wire is also going to change, right? Now what we will do, my friend, let's say we put some voltage in this wire and we get a current flow. What will be the current flow? I will be V by R. Okay, let's say initially when it is not deformed, the resistance is R1. So if you put V voltage, you will get I1 current. Okay, initially the resistance of this wire is R1. We are putting some voltage and we are getting some current. Okay, we will measure this current I1. Now after we apply load, what is going to happen? After we apply load, length of this wire will change. Length of this wire will change means resistance of the wire is also changed. Resistance of metals change with dimension. If the dimension is changed, resistance also change. So the resistance is going to change. After it is going to deform, resistance will also change. Now again we will put the same voltage. So this time we will get a different current. This time the resistance will be different. So current flow will be different. Voltage is same, but resistance will be different, current will be different, right? Now my friend, you have I1 and you have I2. You have measured the initial current, you have measured the final current. So can you find delta I? Yes, you can calculate change in current. Now why the current was changed? Why the current was changed? Because of change in resistance. So if you have change in current, you can calculate change in resistance, right? If you have change in current, how much current is changed, you can calculate how much resistance was changed. Now resistance was changed due to what? Resistance was changed due to change in length. So if you have change in resistance, then you can calculate change in length easily. Change in current is due to change in resistance and change in resistance is due to change in length. So if you have delta I, I1, I2 means you have delta I, you can calculate delta R, and if you have delta R, you can find delta L, my friend. If you have the change in current, you can calculate the change in length. So do you understand how strain gauge works? What we are going to do? We will put some voltage and we will measure the initial current. Then after we will apply the load, we will again put the same voltage and we will measure the final current. Change in current will tell you change in resistance and change in resistance will tell you change in length. Do you understand this concept? Very good. Hit the like button if you have got this concept. Very good. Hit the like button right now. So you understand the concept of strain gauge, right? Strain gauge measures epsilon in any one direction. Now my friend, I will tell you the concept of strain rosette. Okay, I will tell you the concept of strain rosette. Okay, now let's understand the concept of strain rosette. Okay, ultimate objective is to calculate sigma 1 and 2. Okay, we don't want the value of strain. Actually, we don't want value of strain. We want the value of stress, but we cannot measure stress. So that's why we are measuring strain. Measuring strain is not a choice. Okay, we don't have choice. We cannot measure stress. So that's why we have to measure strain and then we have to convert strain into stress. So ultimate objective is to find sigma 1, 2. And in order to calculate sigma 1, 2, what do you need? You need epsilon 1, 2. Right? You need epsilon 1, 2. And in order to calculate epsilon 1, 2, what do you need? You need epsilon x, epsilon y and gamma xy. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? You need ultimately sigma 1, 2. But you cannot directly measure sigma 1, 2. We can measure only strain. You need sigma 1, 2, but you cannot measure sigma. You can only measure strain. So in order to find sigma 1, 2, what do you need? Epsilon 1, 2. And in order to calculate epsilon 1, 2, what do you need? Epsilon x, epsilon y, and gamma xy. Okay. Now, my friend, understand this. Understand this. Let's say this is a body. Let's say this is a body. Okay. Let's say I am putting a strain gauge. Let's say I am putting a strain gauge at some angle. Okay. Let's say I have put strain gauge at some angle. What this strain gauge is going to give me? What this strain gauge is going to give me? Epsilon. This strain gauge is going to give me epsilon at some angle, right? Let's say this is strain gauge A. Okay, and let's say the angle for this strain gauge will be theta A. Now understand this. What will be the angle, my friend? Last time also I told you, whenever you want to measure angle, don't look at epsilon, look at the plane. So this epsilon is acting on which plane? This plane. It is normal to this plane. So let's say this angle is theta. So I have put one strain gauge at angle theta A. I got epsilon A. Okay, what will be the equation, my friend? Epsilon A will be equal to epsilon x plus epsilon y by 2 plus epsilon x minus epsilon y by 2 cos 2 theta A plus, sorry, I need more space, so I will start from here. Epsilon x plus epsilon y by 2 plus epsilon x minus epsilon y by 2 cos 2 theta A plus gamma xy by 2 sin 2 theta A. This is the epsilon A, right? Epsilon A at some angle theta A. Now, my friend, what do you need? You need epsilon x, epsilon y, and gamma xy. These three things are unknown. Epsilon x is unknown, epsilon y unknown, gamma xy is unknown. What is known? This you know. Epsilon A is the reading of strain gauge. So you know this reading. You know epsilon A. You know this epsilon A, and you know this theta A. So epsilon A and theta A is known, but epsilon x, epsilon y, and gamma xy is unknown. So you have three unknowns, but only one equation. This is only one equation, right? This is one equation. You have three unknowns, but only one equation. You need two more equation. You need two more equation. So what you will do, my friend? What you will do? You need two more equation. So what you will do? You will put two more strain gauges at different angles. You will put two more strain gauges at a different angle. Okay. Let's say the angle of second strain gauge is theta B and reading is epsilon B. So what will you get? What will you get, my friend? For second strain gauge, let's say the angle is theta B and reading is epsilon B. For third strain gauge, let's say angle is theta C and reading is epsilon C. So what you will get? Epsilon B will be epsilon x plus epsilon y by 2 plus epsilon x minus epsilon y by 2 cos 2 theta B plus gamma xy by 2 sin 2 theta B. And third strain gauge, for third strain gauge, the equation will be epsilon x plus epsilon y by 2 plus epsilon x minus epsilon y by 2 cos 2 theta C plus gamma xy by 2 sin 2 theta C. Now you know epsilon A, B, C. You know these three readings. We have three strain gauges. We know the readings. Okay, we have got the reading. So we have this and we know the angles. We know all these angles. So what is the unknown, my friend? What is the unknown? Epsilon x, epsilon y, and gamma xy. How many unknowns? Three unknowns. How many equations? Three equations. So by solving these three equations, you can find epsilon x, y, and gamma xy. Once you have got epsilon x, y, and gamma xy, you can calculate epsilon 1 and 2. Once you have got epsilon 1 and 2, you can calculate sigma 1 and 2. This is your final objective. This is your final answer. So do you understand this entire process? Do you understand this entire process? In order to calculate epsilon x, y, and gamma xy, we need how many strain gauges? Three strain gauges. We need three readings. Epsilon A, epsilon B, epsilon C. We need these three readings, okay, at three different angles. At three different angles. If you have three strain readings at three different angles, then you can find epsilon xy and gamma xy. Once you have this, you can calculate epsilon 1, 2. Once you have this, you can calculate sigma 1, 2. Do you understand this entire procedure? Now, what is strain rosette? Combination of three strain gauges. Combination of three strain gauges is known as strain rosette. Very simple, very simple. Strain rosette is nothing but combination of three strain gauges. Why do you need three strain gauge? Because you need three equation. In order to find these three, you need three equation. So in order to find these three equation, we need three strain gauges at three different angles. Combination of this is known as strain rosette. So strain rosette is nothing but combination of three different strain gauges at three different angles, my friend. Okay, so understand this, understand this. Very good if you have understood it. Okay, note this down. What is strain rosette? Strain rosette is combination of three strain gauges kept at three different angles, my friend. Okay, all right, my friend. All right. Now, there are different types of strain rosette. There are different types of strain rosette. Okay, there are different types of strain rosette. What are the different types of strain rosette? Let's see. What are the different types of strain rosette? So the first is rectangular strain rosette. Rectangular strain rosette. Okay, what is rectangular strain rosette? If you put three strain gauges like this at 45 degree with each other, A, B, C, at 45 degree with each other, this is rectangular strain rosette. Okay, you can put them like this, you can also put them like this, you can also put them like this, you can also put them like this. You can also put them like this. This is also rectangular strain rosette. What I have done, sorry, this is epsilon C, this is B. Okay, what I have done, my friend, I have just put this strain gauge, the second strain gauge here. Okay, from here to here. Okay, so this is also rectangular strain rosette. This is also rectangular strain rosette. This angle is 45. This angle is 45. So this is one type of strain rosette, rectangular strain rosette, either this or this. Then delta strain rosette. Okay, delta strain rosette. What is delta strain rosette? If you put strain gauges at 60 degree, this is strain gauge A, strain gauge B, strain gauge C, this is 60 degree, this is 60 degree. So if you put strain gauges like this, 60, 60, 60, it is delta strain rosette. Now this combination can also be put like this. I have reversed the direction of B. Don't worry, you will get the same answer. If you reverse the direction of any strain gauge, it doesn't matter, you will get the same answer. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you put it like this or this. Okay, so this is also one type. This angle will become 120, 120, 120. Okay, and you can also put it like this. You can also put it like this. You can also put it like this: A, B, C. This is 60 degree, this is 60 degree. All three are delta. All these three are delta. All these three are nothing but the same type. Okay, here the direction of B is reversed. Here the direction of C is reversed. Okay, so no problem, you will get the same result. Okay, so these two are rectangular strain rosette. These three are delta strain rosette. Note this down, my friend. Note this down. Different configurations. Okay, so usually we use this type of configuration, but you can use any configuration. It is not necessary that you will see only this configuration. You can have any configuration. It doesn't matter. Okay, you have to just use three different strain gauges at three different angles. Angle can be anything. Now, my friend, let's see one particular strain rosette, rectangular strain rosette. Let's understand how the strain rosette works. Okay, let's understand how the strain rosette works. Okay, so let's say you have a rectangular strain rosette. A, B, C. Okay, this angle is 45. This angle is 45. Okay, now my friend, what is the equation of epsilon at any angle theta is epsilon x plus epsilon y by 2 plus epsilon x minus epsilon y by 2 cos 2 theta plus gamma xy by 2 sin 2 theta. This is the equation. We need three different epsilon. We need three readings at three different theta. So we have three readings at three different angles. First of all, I want you to understand how the angles are measured. Okay. I want you to understand how the angles are measured. Otherwise, you will be confused. Okay. So the first strain gauge is this, right? First strain gauge is this, A. This is epsilon A. Okay, this is epsilon A. This is the first strain gauge. Now I told you, if I ask you what is theta A, don't look at the direction of epsilon A. What you will look? You will look at the direction of plane at which epsilon A is acting. So epsilon A is acting at which plane, my friend? Epsilon A is acting at this plane. So what will be the angle for this plane? We measure the angles from vertical. So for this plane, angle will be 0 degree. Do you understand? People usually think that we are measuring angle from vertical. So for epsilon A, angle will be 90. But you don't look at the angle of epsilon. You don't look at the angle of epsilon. You look at the angle of the plane. So what will be the angle for this plane, my friend? 0 degree. Okay. Now look at the second strain gauge. Look at the second strain gauge. Epsilon B. Look at the second strain gauge. This is the strain gauge B. It is giving you epsilon B. So what will be the angle of epsilon B? Don't look at the epsilon B. Look at the plane at which epsilon B is acting. So epsilon B is acting on this plane. What will be this angle, my friend? What will be this angle? This angle will be 45 degree, right? This angle will be 45 degree, right? If you put a normal here, this angle will be 45. So what will be the angle for epsilon B? The angle for epsilon B will be 45 degree. Now for the third strain gauge, epsilon C. Look at the third strain gauge, epsilon C. Third strain gauge is this, C. So epsilon C is this. Now my friend, what will be the angle for this plane? What will be the angle for this plane? What will be the angle for this plane? See, this one is acting on this plane, horizontal plane. And what is the angle between vertical and horizontal? 90 degree. So for this third strain gauge, angle will be 90 degree. So do you understand? Theta A will be 0, theta will be 45, theta C will be 90. Now I can tell you a very easy way to calculate theta. What do? You know that for this one, theta will be 0. For this one, theta will be 0. Now consider this to be your datum. Consider this to be your reference. All the other angles will be measured from here. So what will be angle of B? 45. In which direction? Anti-clockwise direction. Anti-clockwise theta is positive. So for B, theta will be 45. For C, theta will be 90. This becomes your reference. This is your reference. Measure all the angles from this plane. For this, theta is 0. For this, theta will be 45. For this, theta will be 90. Okay. So do you understand this? Very good. Now my friend, at theta A equals to 0 degree, put theta equals to 0 degree. What you will get? This will become 1 and this will become 0. You will get this. Epsilon A at theta A equals to 0. This will become epsilon A will be equal to epsilon X. Put theta equals to 0. Put theta equals to 0, solve. You will get this. Why? Because this is in X direction. So epsilon A is nothing but epsilon X. You can directly tell this is in X direction. So epsilon A equals to epsilon X. At theta C equals to 90 degree. At theta C equals to 90 degree. At theta C equals to 90 degree. Put theta equals to 90. What you will get? Epsilon C. Theta C means epsilon C will be equal to epsilon Y. Look at this. This is in which direction? Y direction. So it will directly give you epsilon Y. So two values we directly know. This will be epsilon X. Epsilon A will be epsilon X. Epsilon C will be epsilon Y. Do you understand this? These two values you will directly get. You don't have to make any calculation. Whatever you are getting in this epsilon A, it will be epsilon x. Whatever you are getting in this epsilon C, it will be epsilon y. But you need to calculate gamma xy. We need epsilon x, we need epsilon y, we need gamma xy. So how will we calculate gamma xy? Now we will use the next equation for theta b equals to 45 degree. Now put the values. Epsilon b equal to epsilon x plus epsilon y by 2. What is epsilon x? Epsilon a. What is epsilon y? Epsilon c. We just saw epsilon a is epsilon x, epsilon c is epsilon y. Okay, so put that value plus epsilon a minus epsilon c by 2 cos 90 plus gamma xy by 2 sin 90. Okay, now what will be cos 90, my friend? 0. What will be cos 90? 0. This will become 0. What will be sin 90? 1. So what you will get, my friend? You will get this epsilon b equals to epsilon a plus epsilon c by 2 plus gamma xy by 2. So from here you will get this gamma xy equals to 2 into epsilon b minus epsilon a plus epsilon c. Note this down, my friend. You can remember this formula. Okay, so you can find epsilon x, epsilon y and gamma xy directly in rectangular strain rosette. In rectangular strain rosette, what you need to do? Just put the values in this equation. Epsilon x will be epsilon a, epsilon x will be epsilon a, epsilon y will be epsilon c. Epsilon a will directly give you epsilon x, epsilon c will directly give you epsilon y, and gamma xy can be calculated using this 2 into epsilon b minus epsilon a plus epsilon c. Now if you have any other strain rosette, then how will you make calculation? If you have any other strain rosette, let's say you have this strain rosette. Let's say you have this strain rosette. Okay, let's say you have this strain rosette. Then how will you make calculation? Let's say you have this strain rosette. So what you have to do, my friend, in this case epsilon a will directly give you epsilon x. Okay, epsilon a will directly give you epsilon x, but you need epsilon y and gamma xy. Okay, so just use this equation, epsilon at any angle theta. Okay, theta b will be equal to what? Theta b will be equal to what? I told you this is your reference. So theta b will be 60 degree, plus 60 or minus 60, plus 60, because this is anti-clockwise. Theta b will be anti-clockwise, so plus 60. Theta c will be how much? This is your reference. Now theta c is in which direction? Clockwise direction. So theta c will be minus 60. So at theta b you will get one equation, at theta c you will get one other equation. Two equation and two unknown. Epsilon x will be directly given by epsilon a. Epsilon y and gamma xy can be calculated putting these two angles, theta b and theta c. Okay, so put the angle in this equation, solve it, you will get epsilon y, you will get gamma xy. Do you understand this? Very good, my friend. So you can solve problems based on strain rosette. Let me give you a problem, and I want you to solve this problem. Okay, let me give you a problem. I want you to solve this problem. Okay, I want you to solve this problem on your own. Okay, I want you to solve this problem on your own. Let's say rectangular strain rosette problems are very easy. Okay, rectangular strain rosette problems are very easy. Look at this problem. Okay, I want you to solve this problem. Okay, this is 60 degree, this is 60 degree, this is A, B, C. Okay, strain readings are given. Epsilon A is 200 micron. Micron means what? 10 to the power minus 6. Okay, epsilon B is 100 micron. epsilon C is minus 100 micron. Okay, these are the strain readings. E is given 200 gigapascal and mu is 0.3. Find sigma 1 and sigma 2. Okay, this is your problem. I want you to solve this on your own. Okay, I have told you the concept. I want you to solve this on your own and find out sigma 1 and sigma 2. Okay, you have epsilon ABC, you have theta ABC. So first you will calculate epsilon x, epsilon y and gamma xy. Then you will calculate epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, and then you will convert epsilon 1 and 2 into sigma 1 and 2. Do you understand the process, my friend? So solve this problem. We will see the solution tomorrow. Note this problem down. We will see the solution tomorrow. So this was all about complex strain, my friend. Okay, and I gave you a very important concept. And after this lecture ends, go and Google the question that I told you about. Go and Google the question and see every solution in websites, in other books. You will find it is wrong. Okay, why? Because they measure the angle incorrectly. Okay, so you should know the correct concept. Okay, all right, my friend. So this was all for today's lecture, my friend. Don't forget to hit the like button before leaving. Hit the like button, share this video with all your friends, subscribe to our channel, follow the Telegram link. Okay, follow the Telegram channel. Okay, the link is in the description. Follow the Telegram channel. And my friend, whatever I am explaining here, this is just a trailer. If you want the entire picture, if you want to learn more from me and with me, there are some other top teachers of India, top faculties of India. If you want to learn from us, then don't forget to subscribe to Unacademy Plus. Unacademy Plus. We are teaching on Unacademy Plus, complete syllabus. Okay, we have just started the new batch for Unacademy Plus. Okay, so you can find us on Unacademy Plus. You can take subscription on Unacademy Plus, and if you use my code, which is approved 10, my code is approved 10. It is also given in the description of the video. If you use my code, you will get 10% discount. If you use this code, you will get 10% discount, my friend. So don't forget to use this code when you are joining on Unacademy Plus. A lot of students are already joined, have already joined, and they are learning every day. Okay, so don't lose in this race, my friend. Okay, a lot of students have already started learning on Unacademy Plus. You can learn on YouTube also, no problem. But I am telling you, whatever you are seeing here, this is just a trailer. The picture, the entire picture of strength of material will be on Unacademy Plus. I am teaching on Unacademy Plus. With me, there are a lot of other faculties on Unacademy Plus. You can learn from any one of them. Just join Unacademy Plus using this code, approved 10. If you want to know more, find me on Facebook or Instagram, and I will tell you more about Unacademy Plus. Okay, so this was all for today's class. We will meet in the next class with a new topic, with a new chapter. Till then, thank you very much for watching this video.